into New York, yo, into New York, yo, into New York, to New York, to New York, put the yo into New York, yo, into New York, yo, into New York, to New York, to New York.
And welcome to Crash Chords Autographs. For this week's episode, Matt delivers us a breakthrough country rock artist from Dallas, Texas, the talented guitarist and vocalist Erik Neff. Not entirely new to Crash Chords, however, Neff's work made its first appearance on the site as the subject of a written and raving record review titled Subtle Revitalization by writer and CCP co-host Steve Nagel. The album itself, called At the End of the Day, was released shortly after this interview took place on November 10th and is available on iTunes via the link below. Together with Matt, Neff discusses everything from the molding of his sound to the process of assembling the new record to the mutual benefits of having a music and modeling career. We even get to hear why he closed the record with his cover of Shout by Tears for Fears. And so, presenting these topics and a healthy aside on football, here's Matt Storm and Erik Neff.
Hello, is this Erik?
Hey, yes it is. It's Matt.
Yes. Hey, Erik, how are you?
Hey, man, doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for agreeing to the interview. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really grateful that Yvonne reached out to us about the album and about you because it's been a hit with me and Steve. We thought it was phenomenal. So I'm really grateful to get a chance to talk to you a bit about it.
Man, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it.
So to start, just so our audience can get an idea of your background a bit, I recall reading that you didn't actually start out in music, your professional career. You only came to music fairly recently. Is that correct?
I've actually been in music for a while. I was kind of at a point where where I was, just cutting demos and playing here and there. But then, it wasn't until recently where I kind of just decided to be an artist again, and I was actually working for the label that I'm signed with, and basically what happened was I went to pick up two of the partners that came in to meet here in Dallas, and as we were driving in, they're like, well, hey, what have you been working on? And I threw some stuff in the CD player, and an hour later I was called into the room. I thought to go grab them coffee or something, and they're like, all right, we're going to make an album right now. And so that was kind of me getting back into it.
Wow, that's kind of incredible that it just kind of happened like that.
It really was. They were just they're great guys, and they're just like, how did we kind of not know that you're right under our nose? Because I never pushed anything in front of their face. And the guy I was working for, based in Dallas here, the head of the label, he knew I did music and was helping me out in the studio and stuff, and as we're great friends, but all of a sudden it was, okay, quit working, you got to go make an album. So I was like, okay.
Wow, that's really awesome. I like when I hear stories like that, people who are just kind of working themselves to the bone and kind of happen to wander into a situation that works out for them. It's kind of incredible when things like that kind of just fall into place.
Absolutely, especially these days, being in the music world, it's a tough biz, and so yeah, it kind of just, I don't know, it kind of came at me. It was an opportunity, of course. I'm not going to pass that one up. So
for sure,
so we went to the record.
Great, and so you're saying then you had been playing music for a while. Have you always been into singing guitar? Did you have growing up like a favorite guitarist, like a thing that inspired you to start picking up instruments?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started playing guitar when I was 10, and I basically did that out of spite. My dad was a musician, and we always had gear and recording equipment in the house. then my older brother started picking up the guitar and annoying everybody in the house, of course. And so, at 10, I'm playing soccer and doing other things, but I decided that I'm not going to be the only guy in the house that doesn't know how to play. So I kind of started out of, learning out of spite. And of course I thought the guitar was cool. But I was definitely one of those, my big brother knows all kind of younger brothers. I kind of picked up on the music he listened to and that kind of thing. So I thought he was, my hero back then. Well, still today, but absolutely. And what happened was he introduced me, in Dallas, the Austin scene was happening at the time, and a guy named my brother, actually, we were on the way because he was in a band, and we were on the way to one of his gigs, and he said, "Eric, shut up, lean back your seat, close your eyes, and I'm going to play something for you." And it was a guy named Ian Moore,
mm-hmm.
whom I actually got the privilege of opening up for last night. And it was so awesome. What an awesome experience. But he was kind of like, Ian kind of became my musical mentor as far as how I wanted, the way he presented music and how I absorbed it as a listener was fascinating to me. And I was like, I want to be able to present music, the way that he does. Just it was special. I just found something awesome in his vocals and his guitar playing. The way he was able to emotionally, get out through his fingers, what he was basically could have been saying through his mouth. Cool thing about the guitar.
Yeah, for sure. The guitar is also a very versatile instrument. You can do a lot with it. The next thing I wanted to ask is, so obviously you live in Dallas, is that correct?
Correct.
And have you always lived there, or did you move there as you got older?
No, I lived here, grew up here. I left when I was 18. Actually, I've been fortunate enough to have a career in the modeling business that has allowed me to I took off when I was 18 and kind of hit the overseas and lived in New York and LA and Miami and kind of got a taste of the world until I got an opportunity to come back to Dallas. As much cliches going into the whole saying that you're in the modeling business, it was a truly eye-opening, and it allowed me to grow as a person. But being out there and living in New York for 4.5 years, it's not like you can scream at the top of your lungs and sing. So I was like, I need to get back somewhere where I can open up and sing at will. So I came back here.
Cool. And yeah, it definitely, I think also like growing up around a Southern rock scene probably influenced your music quite a bit. And you can hear it in the record for sure. One of my favorite moments with your music was when Yvonne sent the email and you have the cover of, what was it, Come Together by the Beatles?
Yeah.
And I love that version of it because, and I wanted to talk a little bit about covers because, a lot of artists when they cover, they kind of go one of two ways. They either do an homage where it's more or less in the same exact style of the original artist, but just their kind of tiny spin on it. And then some artists kind of completely change it, make it their own, make it their sound instead of the original artist. You, with Come Together, kind of did a little of both. You made it your own, but you had enough of a nod to the original version as well in the construction of it that it had this kind of great blend of both.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that was that song. Well, of course, is a fantastic song. It kind of just started as I was, throwing a band together, and it's kind of like, hey, what songs do you know? And I was just like, hey, everybody go home and learn this in this key because I can't sing in the original key. Is tenor up there.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's slow it down and groove it out and see what happens. And basically, I didn't do anything. We just started playing, and that's, as a band, you want to have common ground, and then figure each other out. And that's where you learn from each other and read off each other. So I just kind of picked it up, and it was a song I try to, use to, I know it sounds terrible, but for the band to come together, to bring us together and get us all on the same page. So, but it ended up being really, really fun. And, gosh, that song is hilarious because there's so many lyrics and verses, and there's 4 verses, and you should have been at rehearsals. I'm like trying.
It was difficult for you to remember everything.
Oh my gosh! Well, you write a song yourself. Those lyrics are ingrained in you, but then
Sure.
you're trying to pick up these classics, and I was like, man, I know these words, but I was putting first and third verse, changing them up, and it was funny. It was fun. Good times.
Very cool. Yeah, it comes across in the video too. Just watching you guys kind of play in the studio, it really has that kind of very open and very sincere vibe, which is really cool in the music video also. Speaking to covers, though, as I mentioned earlier, I really love the record, and I thought it was very interesting and very cool that you closed the record with "Shout," which is really like Tears for Fears, and I'm a huge fan of 80s music. The cheesier, the better, because I love that, the synth, everything, and I really like your cover of it because you more or less do an homage to the original. You change it up a little bit. It's definitely your style of singing, and but the speed, the tempo, and the sound is mostly similar. And I really like that. I like that you just kind of took the song and sang it. And why did you choose "Shout" of all the songs to cover on your record? Was that one?
I've been asked that recently quite a bit, and the honest answer was, I'm an 80s kid too. I love that band, and we plain thought it'd be a fun song to do. There's so much going on in that song, and it allowed for us to just really have fun in the studio. There's the synth. There's lots of rooms for guitar solos. We just thought, it fit with my voice, and we started kind of just roll around it because I tracked most of this with my brother in Nashville, and we started playing that lick on, picked up a Strat, threw it in, and started doing that, and we just thought, hey, this is a cool way to present it, but it still stays true to the original tune. So we just really had fun with it.
Yeah, and it comes across in hearing it. Moving on to talking about the record a little more. So I actually have some questions from Steve Nagel, who is a co-host of my main podcast, the Crash Chords podcast, which is the weekly show that we do, and also the author of the record review at the end of the day, a sort of Revitalization, which is the one that we put up on our website, crashchords.com. He wants to know, however indirect, were there any musical influences involved in the writing of Don't Fall? The darker tones found here seem unique for the album. What helped you form that sound for that single?
Actually, that song I've had with me for a really long time. Back when I did live and spend some time in Nashville, and my first band there, I had a band with my brother, who's a top musical engineer now. The drummer now is like Jars of Clay's top drummer, and wow. These guys were just so freaking talented, and it was my first front man experience, and it was a song that Gabe and Jeremy kind of brought, and we kind of developed it, but it was more just that song has to be 12, 15 years old. But it's always a song that I've never been able to let go. It's a song that when we were deciding what songs to put on the album, we're just like, we have to record this tune. Because it has that haunting aspect to it, and I don't think there was any other musical influence than just 4 guys in Nashville sitting, writing and sitting in a room, just hashing it out. but I don't believe there was a specific artist it was trying to be like. It was just kind of a pretty organic experience.
Awesome. Well, and it comes through very organic. I mean, and it's no wonder you picked it as the first single, because it's a powerful song. And the fact that you held on to it for so long, I think, kind of is across in it too, because it's a very emotional track. And you can kind of get a sense of it just from the complete construction of it.
It is. We really tried to put timeless material on this album. You know, a lot of these songs I've had with me for a long time. And I've loved them, and I had the opportunity to do an album, and I was like, hey, I got some songs we can do.
It's great that worked out that way.
Yeah, well, and it allowed for, it has such, I don't know, it has a song for every mood. It's got your, whatever, for a lot of taste, it's got some of the, up the rocker stuff, and it does have the ballads and the emotional stuff, and then it's got your easy breezy driving songs on there. It's kind of all over the place, but it somehow works together.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Another question that Steve has is, we were talking about your modeling career earlier, and he's curious if your modeling career easily paralleled your music career, or if you ever experienced a real conflict between the two. I mean, it sounds like you kind of did one and fiddled with the other and then came back to it. But is there more to it than that?
Yeah, well, actually, when I started in music, the modeling career was the last thing that I wanted people to know. Because I didn't want to be just off that aspect. And that was right when all the social media stuff started happening. Of course, when I'm first starting out, I'm like, I want to be respected as an artist.
Sure. But
things have really turned around, and now it's because I'm still modeling. I mean, I'll get calls and go and do a job, and it's great because I can do time for music and I can go make a little cash here and there. But now the two seem to be really, really working together. It doesn't seem to be hurting me, and now it seems to be more of a good thing, more of an asset to have that and use that, because the modeling industry taught me so much about how to hold myself, how to present myself, how to walk into a room. It got me out of my shell, and now people are less judgmental on that, and will look at it maybe as more of a cool thing. That, oh, hey, yeah, he models too. That's I don't know, some people would find that cool, but it's just a business. I'm very thankful for it, but now I think it's allowed me to have relationships in places I didn't know, and in all over the nation, and so now I guess I'm embracing the two, is what I'm trying to say. And I think it would, as we want people to love the music, it can't hurt if somebody, likes a photo and goes, oh wait, who's that? So,
Well, yeah, for sure. Like in the social media world, where everything's so connected, someone might discover you from one place, but then find out you do the other thing too, and go, oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, that's great. I would totally want to be involved with this person now.
Yes, exactly what you said. Perfect.
Steve's final question for you is, what highlights of the current record do you see working towards your next album? Any themes, musical or lyrical, that you would expect to further explore in your next record?
That's a tough question, because all these songs are so different.
Yeah.
What I want to keep, what I do want to keep, is what I thought about this album was the honesty. I really felt like as much musical influence as these guys that I love and idolize, emulate, or whatever, I really found that I found my voice on this, and I think I definitely want that to carry over. I'm thinking about doing a more acoustic, more intimate type record. where I can really use the mic differently, and, create that I'm in the room with you kind of feel. And I thought, 'cause I like to get up and rock and roll as much as anybody, strap on a guitar and be loud. But I really found that, on a lot of this album, that the intimacy was something that I really loved, and something that I definitely want to carry over, that honest intimacy. I guess, just the honesty. I mean, we just strapped on guitars and plugged them in and played. We weren't going for perfection. We were just trying to make it, if it feels good, leave it. If it doesn't, take it out. Kind of mentality.
Which makes sense. I mean, I totally get that. Music that comes, honesty in music comes through so much stronger than music that's manufactured. So anything that's honest and sincere will always find an audience and will always connect with a person, because nobody wants to be lied to, essentially. If you're getting music from an artist, you want it to be sincere and honest. And I think that's a huge strength for that record. And if you continue to work that way, I think you'll find a lot more success as you continue on.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, sure. Also, I remember reading in the original press release I had received from Yvonne that you are master's class instructor at the Sepkin Entertainment Group.
Oh, well, no, yes and no. I'm not. I do coach voice here and there for just people around. I've coached voice, but I took voice under. I guess I would be considered under her master class. The thing was, I took voice from a very, very awesome and highly acclaimed vocal coach who's very expensive, and her name is Linda Sepfian, and basically, I don't know. Well, she was there last night. Funny how that started, because when I was 18, I went up to actually, I don't know if you've heard of Jessica Simpson. I grew up with Jessica, but
Sure, of course I know Jessica Simpson. Sure.
It was her birthday party, and Linda was her vocal coach, and I had been the guitar player. I had been playing, some rhythm guitar for some of her students, and I just went up to her and I said, I'd love to learn how to fundamentally sing. And she's like, well, come by and check out a class and see if it's something you'd be interested in. I went to see the class. The student ended up not being able to come, and she's like, well, do you have anything to sing, or anything you can play for me? And basically, I just went to my car and got, of course, the old Ian Moore, CD, popped it in and sang along. And from then on, for years, I took under classes under Linda, which she still has never asked a dime for.
Oh, that's very nice.
And we just developed that relationship, and she's been like a second mother to me, and always will be. But that was the beginning of singing for me. So I guess I would be considered, yes, one of her master class students. She from then on has her classes and her levels of I guess maturity through her ranks. But I don't know. I just doing these interviews, I look back and I just think, man, that's a cool thing that happened.
Well, yeah, it's good to acknowledge the things that you've come from and kind of realize how kind of great it was. It's nice to reflect on those things from time to time.
It is, absolutely. So many great people that just been around and given me opportunities that that were just handed to me, and I'm so grateful for. And
sure,
now,
but they wouldn't have come up if you didn't have the talent or the passion to back it up. Things don't just fall in someone's lap and they make something from nothing. You clearly worked for it too, and I think that's reflected in your music and your sound for sure.
Yeah, I guess, and the greatest people in your life, I guess they, can see things in you that maybe you can't even see in yourself. A lot of it's, some of it's talent, a lot of it's hard work, a lot of it's just perseverance, just keeping at it. Because as you know, music business. Most of the time it's not about the music.
No, not.
Unfortunately. So yeah, it's been a crazy ride, but now I'm sitting here with an album and I'm ready to go play some shows.
Cool. So yeah, that's actually what I wanted to ask you next. Do you have a tour set up that you're planning?
That is in the works. Tours are being all that stuff. The label's been really pushing the release of this album, and right now I'm meeting with different management to just kind of see what is gonna be. I don't know. Just see what opportunities come, because apparently, few people are the album's getting great feedback, and Yvonne is doing such an incredible job. Yeah, I'm gonna be out there soon.
Cool.
Just don't have any definite plans, just any specific plans right now.
Gotcha. Well, if you come to New York, definitely let us know. We'll promote it, and we'll definitely come see you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh man, I got to get back to New York. Oh, Matt, I miss it so much.
It's a great place. Like, I have moments here, I work a 9-to-5 day job besides running my website. And, there are moments where I'm stuck on a crowded train and go, ugh, I want to be not here. But all in all, I love being in this city. And so I definitely get that. It's a place where people always come back. A lot of people leave, but most do come back at some point.
Oh, sure.
The next thing I wanted to ask is in vein with touring and going out and playing shows. I imagine besides modeling and music, they're not the only things you do. Do you have a preferred pastime that you enjoy in your free time, watching TV or playing video games or sports, anything like that?
Yeah, I love sports. Actually, if I'm in the car, I'm usually listening to talk radio. Sometimes, when you do music all the time, I've got, songs and lyrics, everything running through my head. Sometimes it's good to, throw on the radio and listen to, guys talk about ripping each other's heads off. So I love talk radio, and yeah, I'm a really simple. Yeah, I'd love to just kick back and then barbecue and throw on a good movie, and I'm golden, just with a guitar in my lap, and that's a good day for me.
Cool. Do you have a favorite sport and a favorite sports team?
Well, right now I'm pretty proud of my Cowboys.
I knew you were going to say that as a New York Giants fan.
I knew you. See, I knew you knew that I was going to. I know. I got to hurt a little bit.
Well, the Giants can't win every Super Bowl, so it's fine. But well. But yeah, it's not. I mean, last season was rough for us, so I'm kind of just taking it with trepidatious calmness this season, and anything we do good, I'm thankful for, and just kind of take it one step at a time. The Cowboys definitely don't look too shabby this season, for sure.
Yeah, they're exceeding expectations for sure,
which is good. It's funny, when I realized you were from Dallas, I was like, he's going to say his favorite team is the Cowboys. I feel it. But I still like you just the same anyway, so don't worry about it. So you said you were playing a show the other night, and you've done some live stuff. Playing this new record, is there a song, like a favorite song you like to play live, one that you really get into while playing it? Or are they all your favorites? Yeah.
Oh, last night was, I had to kick myself because I was playing Rosalie, and I started almost singing myself into a trance, and I was like, wait, crap, I got to play. Like, yeah, that's what's so cool about a lot of the songs like So Contagious and Rosalie is sometimes they hypnotize me while I'm playing them, because they're the chord changes and the melodies are just, I don't know, they're like, they have what I like in great songs, the cool chord changes and the dissonance, and that you're just kind of get swept away. And I loved, like, last night Rosalie was, actually the first time I played it live, and I just can't wait to play it again.
Very cool. And the next thing I wanted to ask was, obviously you mentioned earlier that you would like to kind of take yourself in possibly an acoustic direction for the next album. I know you just recorded this new one. Have you started writing any other songs on the album you have currently?
Well, a lot of time is being spent right now because I want to have the band ready as well as an acoustic set ready. So a lot of that time is in rehearsing that stuff right now. Just, because there's so many little fine tunings to do with that. As far as writing the next one, well, and some of these songs, I do have some songs that are already ready to go, but some of these songs, I'd like to transfer them over and do them, broken down acoustic versions, so, yeah, I think that once this settles down a little bit and the album's released, I'm always writing. When I sit down with a guitar, that's when the licks start happening. Driving down the road, lyrics are popping up, so I'm constantly writing.
When you write a song, what usually comes first? Is it the guitar, or the music, or is it the lyrics, or is it different from song to song?
It is different from song to song, but usually it starts with a guitar lick, because I'll just be fiddling around and I'll play something I didn't even know I played. I'm like, wait a second, that was pretty cool. What was that? And then usually I try to write from whatever's kind of going on in my life. Writing music is kind of how I figure myself out. It's kind of my therapy of getting myself out. It's my I don't know the right word for it. I'm trying to think of what Ian Moore would say because it'd be a lot more eloquent. It is, but yeah, it's kind of just how I figure myself out is song, because I'll just start humming melodies and all of a sudden lyrics will just kind of start coming out, and as you write them down, things just they just develop, and all of a sudden you've got two guitar licks that you wrote 6 months apart that all of a sudden are fitting together, and then you're just putting this stuff piece by piece. And then sometimes if I'm writing with a buddy or something, you can just throw down, somebody comes in with an idea, and then half an hour you've got a song, and you're just like, what just happened? So yeah, it really depends.
Okay. And you mentioned Ian a few times, so he's clearly one of your big influences. But I'm curious if there's other music that you're really into that someone might be surprised that you like. One of our listeners who's heard your album when it comes out and knows the kind of music you play. Is there anything that you listen to that you take inspiration from that's kind of outside of what you would be surprised by?
Yeah, well, I really love a band called Ours. Jimmy Gnecco is the lead vocalist, and he's one of those talent guys like Ian that you can always listen to and will take you to that other place. And he's more of a rock singer. I mean, he's a very intense singer with incredible Jeff Buckley range.
Oh, cool.
But I mean, his stuff is a lot more, I guess, more dark. But I love, I listen to Radiohead, but then I love the Miss Lee, type guys that can just, put on an acoustic and take your breath away. I'm trying to think here of other guys.
I think also, from what I've heard of your music, it speaks to how honest and kind of diverse even the record is. Even though it's within your kind of sound of the overall record, you do jump around a little bit from ballads to heavy stuff, to faster stuff, to kind of driving stuff, like you said. And I think that's influenced by the different types of music you listen to. You know, if people who listen to only one kind of music can't really expand on an idea if they don't know where else to go. You know, if they're kind of in one place.
Yeah, well, I love, the soul of blues, and then I like, some, that dark emotional stuff you listen to when you're alone in the car, and then I love easy breezy, Pete Yorn type stuff, and I like the kind of bluegrass, kind of just, the Ryan Adams kind of just raw in your face kind of stuff. I mean, it's all spectrum. I'm just a big fan of talent.
Sure. Well, I think we all are a band of talent. You know, ultimately, people don't want to listen to talentless music.
Sure. Yeah, if I don't care what genre it is, if I listen to it and go, man, they're able, to get across their music, and in a way that only they can. They're not trying to be anybody else but themselves, and nobody can do what they do. That's what I love.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest bands that have impact on me are the ones who clearly have their own voice and are kind of exploring their own path. Those are the ones that'll stand out the most too. When you can't exactly peg them as something, that's when you're going to get really intrigued, because it's human nature to kind of put music in a box these days. This guy's country, this guy's rock and roll, this guy is heavy metal. But when you get someone who's kind of just outside the lines, that's when it gets really intriguing.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, well, what kind of music do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully it's just good. Good music.
That's probably got to be the worst question that you get is, what kind of music do you play? And when someone finds out you're a musician, it's like my fiance is a singer, songwriter, and an actress. When she mentions, when anyone mentions they're a singer, oh, well, sing me something. Well, it's not that easy. That's not how this works. But
right. I'm not in the mood.
When you start touring, is there obviously it sounds like you really do want to come back to New York, but is there any other cities that you're like that's the place you want to go, that's where you want to play? Do you have a specific goal location that you'd really love to play?
Definitely New York's at the top of the list. I'm really just looking for, I want to find these places where people are ready to listen to music again, and want to go and actually listen. I think you can find that in most any city. But in Dallas, it's just really hard, because there's such a club scene, and, it's really hard to, you walk into a room and, somebody's playing, and everybody, you'll see people talking or they're eating their food, and I'm like, are you not listening to this guy? He is awesome. So, even if I have to go tour with nothing but me and acoustic guitar, I want to hit every city, any city that I can, and just see what people are, I know there's people out there that, just love music.
For sure, yeah. No, it's got to be tough with a scene like that. I mean, it's cool in New York. I mean, I've lived here my whole life, and there was kind of like when I was a kid, a teenager, there was a lot of small club acts playing, like, small shows under basements and underground, and that kind of stuff. Live music was kind of a really big thing, and then kind of in the early 2000s when I was in college, it kind of dwindled a bit. People didn't want to really go see shows as much, but I'm finding a resurgence now. There's a lot of great venues in New York opening up, playing and featuring music constantly. And it's kind of nice to be able to pick a place and just go, oh, music. A friend of mine owns a bar called The Way Station in Brooklyn. It's a Doctor Who themed bar, and every night during the week they have music. On the weekends they'll have special events, but every night during the week it's 3 or 4 bands from like 8 to midnight. And it's great. It's a great way to find new music.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I remember being in New York, and, you go to these places, like, where are we? And you just go in and just get blown away. I love that about New York. Austin's going to be a great place too. Even gosh, I'd love to even get up on the West Coast, hit some Seattle. Definitely hit, Nashville, but there's got to be, there's places to play everywhere that I know. even college town, a lot of college towns, kids getting into music.
Sure, yeah. I feel like
now it's cool to do the indie thing, or
well, yeah, I find that also, like, now that radio isn't as prevalent as it was, it still is in some areas, but, it's not as big as of an influence as it used to be. You don't really care about a lot of those shows unless you're following the right group or location on Facebook, because it used to be tune into the radio and the commercial comes on this Sunday, so-and-so at this place, and there's not really a lot of that anymore. TV also, there's no commercial really, except on like Hulu, but every so often. And I don't think I've ever seen music advertised on like streaming properties. So it's like, you really have to know someone who knows someone to find stuff. It's an interesting dichotomy of the way music's kind of come around to word of mouth again, almost, like I honestly hadn't heard of you until Yvonne reached out to Steve, pushing the album, and Steve wrote the review, and I was really interested, and then I listened to the record and loved it, and so Yvonne reached out to me about an interview, and I was like, for sure. But it's always nice when you discover music that way, when you just kind of get hit with something out of left field, like, oh, this is a thing. Oh, well, I love this,
Sure. It's important to find, venues with built-in crowds. I guess, if I wanted, go on a tour with somebody that's kind of, already been around that road a few times, kind of, and, piggyback with them. But yeah, right now, I don't care if there's one person out there, in the room. I'm ready to just get out there and be playing. But hey, yeah, one at a time if I have to.
Well, it sounds like a great place to be, though. It sounds like you're really, you're kind of riding this wave, and you just want to see where it goes. And that's always the best place to be, because you really can kind of do whatever you want in that moment. Eventually, you'll figure out a strategy, but now it's just get out there and connect, which
Sure.
I'm hoping will be a lot of fun for you, because like I said, I mean, everyone that I've played the record for out here on the East Coast enjoyed it. So you should definitely make a stop in New York at some point. I think it's also the interesting thing about your sound, I think, is I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day. A friend of mine plays in a rock band called Jacks of Kings County, and they're pretty much just a straight up rock outfit. They're a local New York band. And I love their stuff. I couldn't figure out why, they're great musicians, but I couldn't figure out why I was connecting to it so much. Because nobody plays rock and roll anymore. And a ton of the tracks on your album are rock and roll. They're infused with a lot of other stuff, but you just play some straight up rock and roll. And I think that's what attached me to it. And I think that's where your success will thrive from too, is that you're just playing some good old fashioned rock and roll, and nobody really does that anymore. It's always genre mashups and stuff, and it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, that's these days, I have coined the phrase, vintage theory is kind of what we're calling the band, but it comes from, hey, these guys did it right the first time, just picking up a guitar, plugging it in, throwing up a mic and hitting record, and then you're done. Like, it's really about just, and that's what I loved about seeing, Ian last night and doing his thing after so many years, is he still has that love of just getting up and screaming his head off. That it has been lost. Good old fashioned rock and roll, can't not love it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Before we start wrapping up, I'm curious, obviously the album you want to promote, so tell the audience again when that album actually comes out.
Oh gosh.
Do you remember the release date?
I haven't been given the date. November 10th was the last date that was given to me.
Okay, so look for November 10th. I believe that's accurate. I should have actually double checked the press release that Yvonne sent me, but look for it in early.
I know. I'm sorry to interrupt, but no, it's available now. Available for pre-order on iTunes.
Great. So go to iTunes and pick it up there. Pre-order the record. Definitely look for it in early to mid-November. At the End of the Day is the name of the record again. Anything else you want to promote locally, shows you're doing before you go on tour, or anything coming up?
I think I just really want to give a big thank you to Yvonne Laughlin and Vin Records just for having my back and believing in me, and helping me get this record done.
Yeah, they're and Yvonne's been so open with me and communicating and just getting back to me and very responsive and punctual. So it's been a pleasure to talk to you. You're a delight to chat with, and I'd love to do this again in person if you're ever in New York, for sure. Do a chat in person, maybe get you on our other show. Our other podcast is every week we review a new album, and we have a guest. They bring an album that either means something to them or that they just like, and we break it down track by track. So if you're in New York for an extended period of time, we'd love to have you on the other show.
Absolutely. That sounds phenomenal.
Erik, you're a delight and a pleasure. This has been a wonderful interview. I will definitely also make sure you go to check out crashchords.com. We have the review of Erik's record up now. I really appreciate you taking the time to do the interview.
Oh, thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. And definitely reach out. You have my number now. Reach out when you're going to be in New York. We'll hook up and chat some more.
Consider it done. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thanks, Erik.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed these interviews, please subscribe to this and the Crash Chords podcast on iTunes, where you can also rate us and review us. You can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Crash Chords Web, our Tumblr, and our YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post in the comment area below each post. And keep the discussion going, because remember, music is life, and life is good.